Hello, and thank you all for joining me this morning. I'm Jack, and I'm going to be talking you through how to get serious with the Microsoft Power Platform in 2024. So we're going to jump straight in. Today's going to be several slides and then a number of demos with a live example of how fast you can actually get started with the Power Platform. So to jump straight in, what are the challenges you foresee for rolling out the Power Platform? So have a think for a moment when you think about the Power Platform around the challenges that you may face. So just take a moment, have a think, and in the next slide, I'm going to just draw out some of the common challenges that we see when we engage with our customers. And some of these may resonate, some of them may not. So just spend a moment having a think, and we'll move on and have a look at some of those challenges and why they exist. So if we take a look, first thing that we can see, and a common one, will be budget constraints. So we understand that many organizations have budget constraints, they have budgets to align to, and there is not a bottomless pit of money to go and procure licenses, procure services, employ developers, employ experienced personnel to go and create things with any technology, let alone the Power Platform. So that's one reason why there may be challenges. The other is around having the appropriate resources. The Power Platform is a technology. Have you got the appropriate people in your organization that can roll that out? Do they understand it from the ecosystem point of view, how it fits into the wider Microsoft ecosystem? And also then at a lower level, how do you use it to go and create solutions and solve problems, generate efficiencies for your business? User buy-in. No one likes change. It's proven across many years that nobody likes change, and getting users engaged and brought into the platform and any solutions that are created with it is critical. So how do you do that? How do you get user buy-in? Then we have governance. If you're from an IT department or you're responsible for the IT, one of the key things that people don't want is poor governance, because that can lead to issues like shadow IT that existed in the past and still exist today. So think about those really important Excel documents, those business critical Microsoft Access databases, your Lotus Notes, whatever it may be. A lot of the time that those would have been created by users with very little governance. How many times has Jane Doe's created that thing, we're going to go and use it, it's really good, and then something goes wrong and it causes a few issues. So making sure there's governance around anything that's created within the platform so that we can make sure it's done the best way and that people are aware that that thing exists. Then we have effectiveness evaluation. So how effective is the platform going to be for what you are trying to achieve? There is no point going into a long-term project or a long-term program to roll out a Power Platform if you don't understand how effective it can be and how you evaluate that. Confidence. So has the organization got the confidence? Does your organization have the confidence with the platform itself? What ways can we look at, which we'll go into today, to gain that confidence and to get the buy-in from users, but also from senior leadership? So that's one critical area, is that a lot of the time people are aware that this platform exists, they're aware of the technology, but how do we get the appropriate buy-in from our senior leadership, from the technology teams, to say that this platform is a strategic choice and we're going to invest? Skill gaps. So along with the skilled resources, where are the gaps for our internal resources? Do we need to go and procure services from elsewhere, from different vendors? Do we need to put our internal people on training courses and offer career progression around this platform if it is a strategic decision to invest in the Power Platform? Are we looking to replace legacy systems? Are we looking to mitigate license costs from other services and other software as a service solutions? Are we looking at deprecating on-premises systems and replacing it with solutions like that can be created with the Power Platform? And then finally, user adoption. So how do we make sure, if we do decide to go and invest in the Power Platform and you do decide that this is the technology for you and your organization, how do you ensure that you take your users on that journey and make sure they actually use it and don't revert back to creating their own solutions in things like Microsoft Excel, Access, and so on and so forth. And finally, change management. How do you manage that change for those users? How do you make sure that they are aware of what is coming? How is that communicated? How can they get involved? When people ultimately know what's coming, they're less likely to resist if you're doing it in the right way. So those are some challenges that you may have identified, but these are the common challenges that we see at CPS. And what I've done today is I've distilled these challenges down into a 6-step guide to get serious. So 6 steps on how you can address those challenges and what we've seen from organizations over the years when implementing Power Platform. So first we have assess business needs and goals. Then we have the ecosystem of the Power Platform, skilling, a pilot project to prove technology, center of excellence, and developing a community. So jumping in, assessing business needs. So as an organization, what are you trying to achieve in the platform? So this is taking a step back. So actually really taking a holistic view and understanding what you are trying to do and what you are trying to achieve. Is it that you're looking to reduce cost and improve efficiency? Is it that you're looking to optimize service delivery? Is it accelerate application development, automate your business processes, look at data-driven decision making, department collaboration, or even citizen development, workforce enablement? So if you're looking at cost reduction efficiency, then the technology itself can support that in many different ways. We have technologies such as Power Automate, where we can look at automating repetitive tasks from a RPA point of view, or that could even be an application that automates a certain process with it. So if you've got an Excel sheet that's doing calculations, that could be converted into an application. We have service delivery optimization. So how can we optimize how we deliver our services to our workforce and also to our customers, whether that be, irrespective of what type of customer it is, how can we give them the information they need and provide them with the service that we think is appropriate? We want to look at automating your standard business processes. So what business processes do you have and how can they be evolved and adapted and how can you automate them? Are there system integration points that you can look at? Are there manual processes at the moment that exist that could easily be converted? Sometimes these can be the really quick wins that demonstrate how fast and how powerful the platform can be. Then we have data-driven decision making. So making sure that your data is in a source that can be interrogated so that you can create analytics from that. When you have a trusted data source and a trusted repetitive reporting process that can be achieved with technologies like Fabric / Microsoft Power BI, you can move towards a data-driven decision-making model, which can be really powerful because you're not making assumptions, you are making it based on the facts and figures. Do you want to improve departmental collaboration? So do you have different departments that exist that all have a version of an Excel spreadsheet because that is what they are working on a daily basis? Is it every department has their own risks and issues log? Well, actually collaborating and removing silos is something that Power Platform can do really well while maintaining all the necessary security and governance. And finally, workforce enablement. We'll come to this later on in a little more detail, but how can you provide a technology platform for your workforce to enable them to be more efficient at their role? So it's worthwhile having a think when you're looking at the Power Platform to take that step back and say, what are our business needs and how are we trying to address them using the Power Platform? So just to highlight the ecosystem of Power Platform, so this isn't the full list, but this is a mind map, I suppose, of what the Power Platform is and the different technologies that exist. So I'm going to run through some of the key ones that people would have heard of, and then I'll go into some of the ones that people may not have heard of. So we have PowerFX, which is the language used within the Power Platform to create our applications and also create our automations from. We have connectors, so the ability to connect to all of our different data sources. At current, Microsoft have over 800 different connectors, so that varies from being able to connect to into your SAP systems, your on-premises data systems, whether that be a SQL Server, an Oracle database. It doesn't necessarily matter. The Power Platform provides multiple ways that you can integrate into your existing systems. We have Microsoft Power Apps, so the ability to create applications that can run on a multitude of devices, so from desktop, laptop, mobile phones, and tablets that are responsive. And we have different types of application based on the need. We have Power Pages, the ability to provide portals to our end users and our customers. So customers could log in and interact with the same data that your employees are using. So for example, if you were to have a ordering system, you may create a Power Pages portal to log for a member of the public to log in and request a new order. And also things like payment integration can be added into Power Pages as well. We have Microsoft Dataverse, so the backbone of the Power Platform, some people may say, this is where all of your data is stored. It is a relational database, but it takes it a little bit further than that, in comparison to things like SQL Server, whereby you also have the different customizations that are applied to those tables. So the different forms, the different views, the relationships, and the keys. So how does the data that you're capturing interact with itself and one another? Then we have Project for the Web, so a tool for managing projects. Within there, you've got risks, issues, task boards, Gantt charts. We have Power Virtual Agents, so the ability to create chatbots that can interact with your data across a multitude of systems and provide those back to your customers or your internal users. I've got a demo on how Power Virtual Agents can be used later on. Then we have Microsoft Power BI, so analytics and reporting. Power Automate for your automation needs, so cloud flows and desktop flows. So if you've got a legacy system that exists on your desktop, a Windows form application of some sort, and there's no integration available through APIs, or desktop flows can still automate information from that and pass it into different systems. And then we have AI Builder, the ability to use artificial intelligence to automate tasks. So for example, scanning invoices in PDF format and extracting content from there. And then we have Dynamics 365, so the CRM, customer relationship management software that exists within the Power Platform as well. So this is a high level view. If you wanted to take it a step down, then there is also a whole host of different pieces of functionality that exist within each of those tools. I've put this in here, so more than happy that the decks get shared later on. You can consume that later on. However, this is an overview of all of the different items that exist within the Power Platform. Again, it's not comprehensive. It doesn't include areas like Dynamics 365 Business Central or Dynamics 365 F&O. So we recently completed a project with Ofsted around 7 months ago, and they've done some recent analysis, and it was a case management solution for complaints. And in 7 months to date, they estimate it's going to save them over 200 days a year in efficiency gains. So they process around 15,000 cases a year, and on the conclusion of a Power Platform project, we're approximately saving 10 minutes per case, and that is primarily through a data integration piece of work and being able to utilize a centralized source system rather than the individual case officers having to go to disparate systems to go and find that information. So that's a huge saving from a project that CPS worked on earlier in the year. So the next area I want to cover is skilling. So the ability, when we think about how to address the Power Platform and how to get serious with it, the first thing you need to do is look at your workforce and understand whether you have the skills internally to roll out the Power Platform. So the first thing you need to do is address current skills and assess those current skills. So what skills do the people have in technical areas? What skills do people have in non-technical areas? So from a service management point of view, are you equipped to roll out the Power Platform and support it if users start creating solutions and applications and automations? If a user picks up the phone and says, my app's broken, that's being used by 30 people, do you have the resources to support that? Especially if that solution is going to cause impact to the business. Looking at utilizing resources across the board. So if you have people with traditional development experience, how can those people be interacted with and how can they be utilized to support the creation of solutions and support the service management of the Power Platform as a whole? Providing people with the opportunity to get hands-on experience, so sending them on to courses through Microsoft, such as App in a Day, Dashboard in a Day, RPA in a day, etc., but also giving them, the ability to give something a go is one of the best ways that people will learn with the Power Platform. If you have users that are competent in tools like Excel, then there's a good chance that they'll be able to transition that knowledge into the Power Platform because PowerFX is built upon the same language as Microsoft Excel. Offering your users certification, so that can validate their knowledge and also provide recognition when they receive certifications, and also can be built into career development and your professional learning plans. Looking at vendor support where required. So if you're looking at the Power Platform but you're not sure how to get the team skilled up on it, there are different methodologies that exist that can do that. So things like what we call unique training, so where we take a scenario that you have and actually applying that to a situation and actually creating the solution and then using that solution as the training course. So we'll teach you ultimately how we've got to that point. So specific training paths, so creating the training paths based on what people have interest in. So is it Power Apps, is it Power Automate, is it more of a citizen development? Then you have collaborative learning via a community. So creating the community internally, so using things like Viva Engage, Yammer, Microsoft Teams to create a community where people can ask questions and support each other when they've got issues. And then finally recognizing when people do good things and being able to possibly reward them in various different ways. Simple rewards can be they get a badge at the bottom of their email signature. That can be a really nice way of demonstrating that they've gone through a program internally. So another way is to look at a pilot project to prove a technology. So we understand that the Power Platform is obviously a huge ecosystem of different tools and technologies, and it can be quite daunting to get started, especially when you start taking into account licensing considerations. Well, that's where you can look at a pilot project to prove that technology is actually going to work and actually is going to work for your organization. And pilot projects can work really well because they can mitigate against risk. So they can, prove that the technology is secure, it's reliable, it's dependable, it's scalable. They can demonstrate it with a real world application. It's all well and good going on a training course and saying that, yeah, it works, but you want something that's relevant to your business and to the challenges that you have. It can enable stakeholder buy-in. So once you can demonstrate that the solution works, that it is safe, and it's easier to go and present that back. And especially if you baseline efficiencies before and after, and you can go back to those people and say, we've seen a reduction in the Ofsted example by 10 minutes per case. That's a really simple way of demonstrating efficiency. It enables you to fail fast also. The Power Platform is a software as a service offering. So unlike traditional development where you need to do a lot of work up front to spin up servers, etc., the Power Platform is ready to go and you can fail fast. You can showcase quick wins on the flip side as well. So automation applications can be created to demonstrate, how fast things can be turned around. You can demonstrate integration capability. And again, that's really powerful in terms of if you've got an on-premises system that you're looking at becoming a single version of truth. Well, using the Power Platform, you can demonstrate that you can pull information from it and you can create modern applications that can be deployed in various locations. And then you've got the ability to do data-driven decision making. So centralizing the data in that pilot project means that you've got a single version of the truth or a single trusted version, and you can start creating analytical reports that can ultimately give you the confidence to make data-driven decisions. So a stat from one of the Microsoft recent studies, so Power Platform and Azure's help reduce costs by 24% due to the increased developer efficiency, increased DevOps efficiency, and reduced time spending on third-party solutions. So that's a huge statistic across a business. If you can gain 24% efficiency across various different streams, then that's a huge win naturally. So the Centre of Excellence, or what we call it CPS, Strategic Enablement. So this is around preparing for the Power Platform as an organisation from a technical and a business processing sense. So this is the toolkit that can provide the guardrails around and the governance and best practice. It can show resource optimization. So where is the best place to put our resources in? Are we seeing a lot of efficiency within Power Automate, or is it Power Apps, and where should we continue to invest? It gives you awareness. So if you look at a citizen development program, well, the Power Platform Center of Excellence can then be used to show you what users are creating and how much they are being used. That can then tie into operational processes, such as if a end user goes and creates a application that is being used by 30 people on a daily basis, well, that may trigger a process to say, well, this form then needs to be recognized by an IT team. It can foster innovation. So there's modules in the Power Platform Center of Excellence, such as Nurture. So you can use the tools within that to push ideas and get information from your workforce. It enables scalability. So where are solutions being used? Where can they be rolled out to? How can you see additional benefits? Performance monitoring. So are all the automations working? Are there any issues? Have some of the connectors expired? And then finally, change management. So how can you manage the change? That would be around sending emails, alerting users, and so on and so forth. So a really critical part is around getting that governance and that administration process and the business processes in place. CPS have a fixed price engagement around strategic enablement, and on the back of that, what we do is we create a service blueprint for the Power Platform unique to your organization that takes into account environments, data loss prevention, user management, license management, and so on and so forth. So this is a quote from a recent piece of work. So over a period of about 12 months, CPS works with the Royal Navy to develop over 20 applications, with savings ranging from $25,000 all the way up to $250,000 over a 12-month period. So a nice little use case there. So developing a community. So why is it important to engage your users? So first of all, it's to diversify perspectives and having that ideation platform. So getting ideas from your workforce is really important because not all managers know the challenges of your workforce, and getting people to be able to submit ideas and upvote ideas is a really powerful way to see what the challenges are. That then increases engagement and typically buy-in if that thing or that issue were to be resolved. You can harness the collective wisdom of your workforce, which is really powerful because 5 people are typically better than 1, and so on and so forth. Fostering culture and innovation, so that ability to enable your team, your workforce to innovate and think of innovation as a solution. It can identify the unmet needs. So what needs does the organization, what needs does the workforce have that hasn't been solved by current IT solutions? Being able to give people the opportunity to submit ideas through like front door processes is really powerful. It can enable rapid problem solving. So if there's an issue that comes to light, you have the ability to solve those problems really quickly. We can develop a community, as I've spoken about already. It's a cost-effective way of doing research and development. So utilizing resources that are already within the business to, as I mentioned earlier, fail fast and prove the quick wins is a really cost-effective way of looking at research and development. It also encourages learning and development, so that career path, retaining workforce. And then you can also detect trends and opportunities. So if you're seeing a lot of ideation and ideas around automation from email attachments, and that could kick off a larger scale project that's run from a more central team, and so on and so forth. So developing a community is really important. And I'm going to just jump into a few demos now and examples of whereby communities have raised challenges to an organization and CPS have supported and created solutions to solve that. So the first one is a health and safety solution. So this was for a manufacturing organization, and ultimately we created a application that can be used to monitor health and safety incidents. In here you can see that earlier this week I was going through and selecting the different data types that we've got submitted. We can add in some information, and once we've gone through that, we save the record. This is a model-driven app in Power Apps, and then we can start adding in more information around that safety event and who that person was, whether they're internal or external, and then what type of injury it was. So there's ability there to add in additional details as and when required. And you'll see there in things on the left-hand side like My Activities. We also have a Power BI report, so some analytics on that data. So you're able to see, the areas that are most commonly injured, and there's different rules around what the colour is. We then have some artificial intelligence baked in that will dynamically create graphics and analytics. We have location information stored in the system, so where incidents are occurring, and then we can provide, heat maps on that. And then finally, we have some events by the date and number of people on the last page, which this video will go to in a second. But that ability to have the interactive map is really powerful if you've got lots of different sites. And then we have, the different types of event by when they have occurred. So just a quick example there of health and safety. And we have another one around a request solution. So this example is a service desk, a very simple service desk solution. So we start off within the management channel within a Microsoft team. And ultimately, the idea here is that they're going to go into a service review on a weekly call. They're going to look at the tickets that have been outstanding for a while. When they use that embedded app, they can see the ticket gets posted into a Teams channel. That is notifying them of a record that hasn't been progressed. That will then load the application, and the service desk agent can go in and review the solution. You'll see there all the different metadata that can be captured, all the different column choices, so on and so forth. And then, with this is a service desk, so there's obviously an input, and one of the ways that you can do input is through a Power Virtual Agent, as I spoke about earlier. So this actually provides a way that there's some authentication based on email and staff number, and the user can go through and type in the information, and they get asked around, what the challenge is. When they select password reset, that will actually automatically go and create them a ticket, and we'll now jump back into that team, and we'll see that ticket has been created successfully. So just a few different ways that the Power Platform can be used. And as an example, those two solutions there that were both created based on ideas from users in an organization, they took several days to create end to end. So really powerful in terms of what can be achieved. So thank you very much for your time today. We're at 11:30. Are there any questions that people have? I've just got some further examples on the screen. around what can be achieved and the sort of technologies that you may be looking at. But ultimately, if there are any questions, please do put them in the chat, and I'm more than happy to answer them. Yes, so we'll get the deck shared, not a problem. Okay, I'll hang around for a moment or two, and if I don't see any questions, I will drop off. Okay, thank you all.